Gelsenkirchen in the Ruhr Valley is one of Germany's poorest cities. It has high unemployment and a chronic shortage of funds. The city fathers thought they had found a simple solution. They sold a long-term lease on the municipal schools and various other buildings, even City Hall, for 20 million euros. But the money has now been spent, and the city still has to pay rent to use its own buildings. And at a time of crisis in the financial sector, it also has to guarantee the deals made with US investors. That will cost at least €1 million. City Councillor Monika Gärtner-Engel was opposed to the deals from the start, but she was only a member of the opposition at the time.
We weren't permitted to look at them. I don't think that those who were permitted to look at them, namely the treasurer and the mayor, understood them.
American lawyers drew up the contracts. They are solely in English and up to 1,700 pages long.
Even with hindsight, I don't think we should have been smarter. No one could have foreseen the situation we're in now.
More than 100 German cities made similar deals with the help of Gerben Hillebrand, the manager of the Rebel Group Advisory, a financial consulting firm. He still says the contracts were a good idea.
The risk analysis we did at that time indicated that these contracts were advantageous for the cities. They got a relatively large cash advantage for what was estimated to be an acceptable risk level. Hindsight is always better.
One of the few people who thought otherwise back then was political analyst Werner Rugemer. He warned the cities that the price of high profits was high risk.
Many of the banks that were doing this cross-border leasing business are the ones hardest hit by the crisis, because cross-border leasing is one of these dubious financial products, like these American mortgage credit packages.
For the treasurer, that means that he now has to come up with a loan guarantee for his crisis-threatened U.S. partner. But he says the deal was still profitable for Gelsenkirchen.
If you have a 20 million advantage and then a million disadvantage, the bottom line is still 19 million.
These cash advantages that the cities were paid as a one-off at the beginning will already have been used up by the constant need for consultations, the negotiations with the banks, and the revision of old insurance policies and the purchase of new ones. In fact, they may even end up costing more.
Gelsenkirchen sold everything to fill its empty coffers, even the sewers. If its U.S. partner goes bankrupt, Gelsenkirchen is in trouble. But Monika Gärtner-Engel's city is still bound by the contract for the next 21 years.
I'm afraid that in the worst case, if the banks that administer most of the money that changed hands with this sale go bankrupt, then all the money will be gone. But this money ought to be used for the rent the city has to pay to use the buildings.
What does that mean for Gelsenkirchen?
Gelsenkirchen will have to pay to use the buildings, but the money set aside to do so might already be gone.
The contracts were thoroughly checked. We had good advice. We feel we were well advised. And the risks now emerging through the financial crisis were basically also taken into consideration. But that the situation would turn out as it has in the current crisis was considered highly unlikely.
And that's not the only unpleasant surprise the city fathers have had. The Grillo High School was finally supposed to get some money to build its own sports hall, but now it won't. The U.S. investors are opposed, and they are calling the shots until the year 2029.